AITA for agreeing to a prenup that ended up protecting me instead of her? I'm 32, male, and I was sitting across from my fiancée, Alexandra, 29, at our favorite steakhouse when she dropped the bombshell. We had been engaged for 6 months, together for 3 years. The wedding was set for next summer. Andrew, we need to talk about something important, she said, pushing salad around her plate. Of course, what's up? I asked. She sat up straighter, putting on what I call her business face. I want a prenuptial agreement. I put down my fork. Okay, I'm serious. I've worked too hard to risk losing everything in a divorce. My parents lost everything when they split, and I won't go through that. That makes sense, I replied, taking a sip of water. She seemed surprised by my calm reaction. You're not upset? Why would I be? It's logical. Alexandra relaxed and smiled. Oh, good. I was worried you'd take it the wrong way. It's just, I have to protect my assets, the marketing agency, my apartment, my investments. I totally get it. It's a smart way of thinking. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're amazing. Most men would be offended, but you understand. I can't risk my future for anyone, not even you. That stung a little. I'm not going to lie, but I kept a straight face. So what's the process? I asked. My lawyer is already drafting the papers. It's standard. We each keep what we had before the marriage. No alimony. Separate property remains separate. It should be ready next week. Sounds good. I'll have my lawyer review it. She laughed. You don't have a lawyer. I'll find one. For the rest of dinner, she was glowing, talking about how mature we were and how this would make our marriage even stronger since there would be no financial worries. What Alexandra didn't know was that I kept my financial life very, very private. She knew I worked in tech consulting but assumed I was just a mid-level consultant. She never asked questions, and I never volunteered details. The truth is, 5 years ago, I developed a piece of software that optimized inventory management for restaurants. Nothing glamorous, nothing flashy, but it worked. I licensed it to a major hospitality corporation. The royalties alone brought in about $40,000 a month. On top of that, I had rental properties for apartments. My investment portfolio, which I started at 18, had grown immensely. Compound interest is a beautiful thing. And then there was the sale of my previous startup, which Alexandra thought had failed, but had actually been sold for a handsome 7-figure sum. I lived modestly. I drove a 2015 Honda Accord. I lived in a nice but not luxurious apartment. I wore clothes from Target. Why? Because I learned early on what money does to people. I wanted someone who loved me for me, not for my bank account. Alexandra, on the other hand, loved to talk about her success. Her marketing agency had maybe a dozen clients. The apartment was nice, but had a big mortgage. The BMW was on a lease, but to hear her talk, you'd think she was the next big marketing mogul. That night, I called a college buddy who was now a family law attorney. Blake, I need you to draw up a prenup. Are you finally going to tell Alexandra how much money you have? No, she wants one to protect her assets from me. Blake laughed so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Update 1. Blake referred me to the best prenup specialist he knew, a lawyer named Catherine who looked like she ate hedge fund managers for breakfast. Let me get this straight, Catherine said, looking over my financial documents. Your fiancé thinks you're after her money? Apparently. She double-checked the numbers. You have roughly 10 times her net worth. 12, actually, if you count the patent I just filed. She gave a shark's grin. This is going to be fun. Meanwhile, Alexandra was getting more and more excited about the prenup. She even started telling our friends about it, bragging about how modern and practical she was. At a dinner party, she announced, I told Andrew straight up, I'm not going to risk my future on him. And he totally got it. He knows I'm the primary breadwinner. Our friend Patrick nearly choked on his wine. He knew about my properties since he was one of my tenants. I shot him a look that clearly said, shut up. Alexandra's lawyer sent over the first draft of the prenup. It was aggressive. All assets acquired before the marriage would remain separate. Fine. No alimony for either party. Fine. Any gift over $500 would only be valid with a written record. Okay. But then, the engagement ring would be returned to her in the event of a divorce. What? If we had children, she would have the final say in all financial decisions concerning them. In a divorce, I would have to vacate the marital home within 30 days, regardless of who legally owned it. This is insulting, Catherine said. She's treating you like a gold digger. Let her think that. This agreement is completely one-sided. She's protecting herself and leaving you exposed. I know. Prepare our counteroffer, but don't send it yet. Catherine's version was fair, a true 50-50. What's mine is mine, what's hers is hers. What we build together is shared. Standard stuff, but with one added clause, full financial disclosure. We would both have to provide detailed statements of our holdings, tax returns, and asset lists. When should I send it? Catherine asked. Wait for my signal. Alexandra was almost euphoric. She'd already told her mother how she was protecting her empire and how supportive I was. Her mother, Margaret, even called to thank me. Most men would feel threatened by a successful woman, Margaret said. But you get it. Alexandra has the most to lose. Absolutely, I replied. She's the big fish here. Update 2. The meeting was set for the following Thursday. Both lawyers, Alexandra and me. Alexandra walked in wearing her best power suit, looking like she was about to close a Fortune 500 deal. Her lawyer, Mr. Donovan, a gray-haired man, looked at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe. Well, he began, I trust you've had time to review our terms. Catherine smiled. Yes, we have. We have a counter-proposal. Alexandra rolled her eyes. Of course he does. Catherine slid our document across the table. My client agrees to the basic terms with a few modifications. But before that, we require full financial disclosure from both parties. That's standard, Mr. Donovan said, pulling out Alexandra's financials. Catherine then placed my stack on the table. A silence fell over the room. Mr. Donovan's eyes widened as he flipped through the pages. Alexandra snatched them from his hands. This can't be right. It's all verified and documented, Catherine replied coolly. The color drained from Alexandra's face. Andrew, what is this? My financial disclosure, just like you asked for. She was flipping through the pages frantically. For rental properties, a licensed software that brings in what per month, this is a joke, right? It's not a joke. Mr. Donovan cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a short recess? No, Alexandra snapped. Andrew, why did you never tell me about this? You never asked. You always said money shouldn't matter in a relationship. But I thought. You thought what? That you were doing me a favor? That I was lucky to be with such a successful woman? Catherine interjected. Moving forward, my client proposes we keep our finances entirely separate. Given the disparity in wealth, he will waive any claim to MS. Alexandra's business or properties, provided she does the same. Alexandra was still staring at the papers, stunned. You sold a company for $2 million? 2.3, actually. And I drive a Honda. You let me believe I was the successful one here, she accused. You assumed. I just never corrected you. This is fraud. Catherine laughed out loud. Fraud would be hiding assets after signing a disclosure agreement. Until now, my client was under no obligation to share his financial status. Alexandra stood up abruptly. I need some air. She stormed out, slamming the door, with Mr. Donovan scrambling after her. Catherine looked at me, perfectly calm. Well played. Update 3. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind. Alexandra went through the full spectrum of emotions: rage, confusion, denial. First came the angry texts. You lied to me. You made me look like a fool. Everyone thinks I'm marrying down. Then came the confusion. Why would you hide this? Were you testing me? Is this even real? Then came denial. This has to be fake. You're trying to set me up. Very funny. Now show me the real documents. When she finally accepted it was all true, she started to negotiate, but not in the way you'd expect. She didn't want access to my money. No, Alexandra was far too proud for that. What she wanted was for me to hide it. She showed up at my apartment at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. We need to talk. Okay. Nobody needs to know about this, she said. We can keep the prenup as is. I protect my assets, you protect yours. But we don't tell anyone about your situation. My situation? You know what I mean. We can go on as we were. I'm the successful businesswoman, and you're my supportive partner. You want me to pretend to be poorer than you? It's not pretending. It's just maintaining the narrative. My family, my friends, my business contacts, they all know me as this self-made, independent woman who doesn't need a man's money. But you had no problem drafting a prenup that treated me like a gold digger? That's different. That was for protection. Protection from what? My Target wardrobe. She started to cry. They weren't tears of sadness, but of frustration. You don't get it. My entire identity is built on this. I'm Alexandra Keller, self-made success. If people find out my fiancé is a millionaire, what does that make me? Still Alexandra Keller? No, that makes me the woman who married up, the one who got lucky. The gold digger. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. So, what do you want, Alexandra? For me to keep everything separate, sign the prenup, but we never talk about my money, and I live the rest of my life in a lie. You've already been doing it for this long. I wasn't pretending, I was just living my life. You're asking me to actively lie. She stood up. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. 2 days later, her mother called me. Andrew, Alexandra told me everything. Did she? How could you deceive her like that? She thought she was with a simple, honest man. I am a simple, honest man. You're a millionaire pretending to be middle class. You trapped her, Andrew. I never pursued Alexandra. She approached me, remember, at the coffee shop? Because she thought I looked super normal. Silence on the other end of the line. She's humiliated, Andrew. Because I have money? Or because you let her believe she was financially superior? I never said I was poor. She assumed. You should have corrected her. When? When she was talking about how she didn't need a man's money. When she was bragging to everyone that she was the breadwinner. When she demanded a prenup to protect herself from me. Margaret hung up. Update 4. The escalation of entitlement was spectacular. Alexandra convened an emergency meeting with her 3 best friends, Vanessa, Brooke, and Olivia. They invited me to Vanessa's house for what I can only describe as an intervention. Andrew, Vanessa began, we understand you're upset about the prenup. I'm not upset about the prenup. But this lie has to stop, Brooke said. Pretending to be rich just to put Alexandra down is abusive. I started laughing. Wait, you think I'm pretending to be rich? Olivia pulled out her phone. We looked you up. There's no record of you selling a company. Your LinkedIn says you're a consultant. Because I am a consultant. Making $40,000 a month. Brooke scoffed. Plus real estate, plus investments. Alexandra sat there, arms crossed. She thinks you're lying to hurt me. Alexandra, you saw the documents? Documents can be faked. Catherine had warned me this might happen, so I was prepared. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, showed the balance, then the monthly deposits, then the property tax statements. Silence. Finally, Vanessa said, Oh my God. So what now? I asked. What's the intervention? That I have money. Olivia looked at Alexandra. Alex, he's rich. I know, Alexandra snapped. So what's the problem? Vanessa asked. Alexandra stood up. The problem is that he made me look like a fool for 3 years. I told everyone I was the successful one. Oh my God. I was so condescending, explaining basic financial concepts to him, and he just sat there, taking notes. Actually, I said, you had some good marketing ideas about SEO. No. Brooke was visibly doing math in her head. Wait, if he has all this money, why does he want to marry you? That sentence hung in the air like a bad smell in a church. Alexandra turned to her friend. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, no offense, but if he's that rich, he could have anyone. Models, actresses, anyone. So I'm not good enough? The friends exchanged awkward glances. I'm just saying maybe he really loves you, Vanessa offered. Or maybe this is some kind of game, Alexandra retorted. The rich guy who pretends to be poor, finds a successful woman, makes her fall for him, and then pulls the rug out from under her. That is literally insane, I said. I fell in love with you because you were driven and funny, and we had chemistry. Your money never mattered to me. But you let me feel inferior. No, you chose to feel that way. And frankly, the fact that you need to feel financially superior to your partner says more about you than it does about me. She slapped me. Hard. Her friends gasped. I stood up. We're done. Andrew, wait. Vanessa called out. But I was already walking out the door. Update 5. The next morning, Alexandra showed up at my place with coffee and an apology that wasn't really an apology. I shouldn't have hit you, but you have to see this from my perspective. A week ago, you wanted a prenup because you wouldn't risk your future on me. Now you're mad that I have money. Explain the logic. It's not about the money. It's entirely about the money. She pushed past me into my apartment. For the first time, she was really looking around, starting to notice things. The original art on the walls that looked like simple posters from a distance. The watch I always wore, a discreet Patek Philippe. The coffee machine, a La Marzocco. Nothing obvious unless you knew what to look for. My God, it was all here in plain sight. I never hid anything. I just don't like to show off. She sat on my couch, the one she always called surprisingly comfortable for an IKEA piece. It was a $15,000 custom piece designed to look simple. The wine you brought to my parents' anniversary. A 1982 Chateau Margaux. You said you got it on sale. I did. It was marked down from $2,000 to $1,800. She put her head in her hands. I'm such an idiot. No, you're just materialistic. Her head snapped up. How dare you? Alexandra, you've judged people by their net worth your entire life. When you thought I had less, you were condescending. Now that you know I have more, you're angry. Either way, it's all about the money. That's not true. I loved you. You loved the idea of being the successful woman dating down. It made you feel powerful. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Remember your company party when you introduced me as the simple guy who keeps me grounded? Or when you told your ex at that reunion that you were dating normal guys now, not pretentious rich men? She was silent. I have a proposal, I said. Let's sign the prenup. Your version, the one where you keep all your assets. And then let's get married. Her eyes lit up. Really? On one condition, we tell everyone the truth about my finances. The light in her eyes died instantly. I can't do that. Why? Because then everyone will think I'm a gold digger. So you do get it? This is my brand, my reputation. Your ego. She stood up. I need to think. That afternoon, I got a call from Mr. Donovan. Mr. Andrew, we need to discuss the prenup. What about it? Alexandra wants to proceed with the original terms, but with one addition, a non-disclosure agreement regarding your assets. Catherine immediately jumped on the conference call. She wants him to sign an NDA about his own wealth to protect the privacy of both parties, Mr. Donovan said, sounding hesitant. Catherine burst out laughing. Your client wants my client to legally bind himself to hide his own fortune, just so she can maintain a false narrative? It's a matter of privacy. It's a matter of fraud, Catherine shot back. She wants to represent herself as the wealthier party to business partners and investors. That's misrepresentation. I cut in. Tell Alexandra there's no deal. Full transparency or no wedding. Final update. The wedding was called off 3 weeks later, but not in the way you might think. Alexandra tried everything. She sent her mother to negotiate with me. Margaret proposed a deal. Just don't mention the money for the first year of marriage. Let Alexandra establish herself first. Establish herself as what? A successful woman? She already is. She built a company. Why isn't that enough? Margaret had no answer. Next, Alexandra tried to turn my friends against me. She called Blake, convinced she was the victim. Blake's response was, Alex, you literally wanted a prenup to protect yourself from Andrew, and now you're mad he has money. It makes no sense. The final blow came from an unexpected source, her own lawyer. Mr. Donovan called Catherine. I'm withdrawing as counsel. Why? My client is asking me to draft documents that would, in essence, conceal material assets from business partners and investors. I can't be a party to that. When Alexandra found out her own lawyer had dropped her, she lost it. She showed up at my office. She'd never been there before. She assumed it was just some generic co-working space. The receptionist called up. Mr. Andrew, there's an Alexandra Keller here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she's insisting. My office was the top-floor corner suite. When she walked in and saw the space, the mahogany desk, the whole setup, she stopped dead. This is your office? Yes. For how long? 3 years. Since before we met. She sat down, defeated. I never really knew you at all. You knew me. You just didn't know my bank balance. But that's a part of you. Not really. I'm the same guy who watches Netflix with you, who brings you soup when you're sick, who listens to you vent about work. The money doesn't change any of that. It changes everything. Don't you see? Every time we went out, and you let me pay because I made more. Every time I gave you advice on saving or investing. Every time I condescendingly explained business to you, you must have been laughing at me. I loved you. There's a difference." She started crying. Real tears this time. I can't. I can't marry someone who makes me feel small. Alexandra, I never made you feel small. You feel small because you built your entire self-worth on being wealthier than your partner. That's your issue. So that's it, 3 years wasted. You threw it away when you decided your image was more important than our reality. She left the ring on my desk and walked out. The aftermath was predictable. Alexandra told everyone I deceived her about my finances. Some people believed her, most didn't. The story was too absurd. He was mean to me by being rich, wasn't a narrative that stuck. She tried to date again, immediately. She got involved with a normal guy named Lucas. Within a month, she was already digging into his finances, convinced he was another secret millionaire. He wasn't. He was a teacher making $60,000 a year. She broke up with him for being too poor, after insisting money didn't matter. Her business started to falter. Not because of me, but because she'd built her entire brand on the narrative of the independent woman who needed no one's money. When word got out that she tried to force an NDA to hide my wealth, investors began to question her integrity. Last I heard, Margaret told me Alexandra was in therapy, trying to figure out why she needed to feel financially superior in her relationships. As for me, I'm doing great. I started dating an ER doctor named Emily about 6 months later. I told her about my money on the third date. Her response was, "Cool. Want to split the check? We're getting married next month with a prenup." An unfair one. The funny part? Alexandra texted me last week, "Heard you're engaged." You told her about the money in the first month and she still wants you? Unbelievable. No. It's almost like some people value things other than a bank balance. She blocked me right after. Looking back, I don't regret keeping my wealth a secret at first. It helped me find someone who genuinely loves me for me. I just wish that person had been Alexandra. But when someone shows you who they really are, someone who needs to feel superior, who values image over truth, who would rather live a lie than admit they aren't the biggest fish in the pond, believe them. The prenup was never the issue. The issue was the mirror. And Alexandra didn't like what she saw. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.